Hello, Tony. Welcome to Dread.
I'm not dreading this, I should say.
Your
I'm a big
nuts are
fan of
dreading this
Samus.
one.
Um,
So, for the longest time, Tony, I've been saying, God, I love these Metroidvania games. I love
yep,
them so much.
yep,
I think Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps is like probably one of the greatest Metroidvania games of all time.
yep.
I've played tons of them.
That's
I
fair.
love them. I love this like unique mix of platforming, RPG, like unique movement, boss fights,
The
combat.
exploration
Like,
of the world.
yeah, it's so fun. Like, you're like, oh, the world doesn't change, you change. You get more
Yeah,
powerful, and the
yeah.
more powerful you
It,
get allows you to go to new areas. And I'm like, this is
it's great.
sick. And I'm like,
Yep,
but I've also never played a Metroid game, and I love Metroidvanias.
yeah.
Oh, can I just
It's interesting.
quick shout out. I love the bomb in this game. It's just like the bomb is such like a simple thing. It's like you can put a bomb down, but then the bomb lets you blast yourself. So then you can start doing like really unique jumps that you wouldn't be
Oh,
able
can
to
you?
do
Oh
without the
yeah,
bomb.
bomb
And you
jump.
can you can set off bombs in midair, so you can like chain bomb jump in Metroid Dread.
That's
Um,
cool. That's cool.
so I never played a Metroid game. I know most people were like, "Oh, I started Metroid One on like the NES." I'm like, you know what?
Do you,
I'm gonna start Metroid Dread because Metroid Dread
okay.
is the newest 2D Metroid game. I would say it's
Do you,
technically 2.5D
yeah,
3D
yeah. But it's the gameplay is
2D split,
2D.
but I love Metroid Dread. Well, I remember
I
when
was
this
gonna.
game came out and people were like
Yeah.
raving about it, and I was like, "Is it really that good?" And then I played it, and I was like, "Oh, it's really that good." Okay.
Okay. I was just gonna say quickly before we get into I think you started Dread is way better than where I started with Metroid. I played Metroid Pinball on the DS.
I had
That's what.
Metroid Pinball on the DS.
Yeah. Then from that I bought. I can't remember what it's called. There's a proper Metroid game.
Hmm.
It was very hard control because you had to use the touchscreen to move. And if you think 3D is bad, like Waggle-tastic or with mouse and keyboard, you have not experienced it on the DS.
Yeah.
Do not try it. Not recommended.
So you have these sections where you go into the more a 3D perspective. So for saving there, you go into a 3D perspective. But
Yeah, that's
Tony,
it.
the boss fights in this game. Oh my god.
Okay. I want to say now. I have
They're
heard
so
good things about the
good.
boss fights. I've actually deliberately tried to not watch many boss fights.
Okay. The boss fights, you'll have like you'll be fighting them and they all have mechanics and it's almost
Yeah.
like okay, this is a
This is
very
a
like
boss, right?
no, this is not a boss.
This is button boss. Okay.
This is just a
I
random
put a
enemy.
health bar. Yeah, that's true. No bar.
Um the this is like a very parry heavy game, I would say. So if you don't like parrying, then whatever. But I feel like a lot of the bosses, it's almost like fighting like a Dark Souls boss, where it's like they can be challenging, but they're never unfair.
Yeah.
And
Is
you're
it?
never,
Aren't they kind of like Elden Ring, where they're constantly like? I feel like with the older bosses, they kind of like have very obvious stages where they stop. Is this more like Elden Ring, where they like don't ever stop?
there's definitely different phases to fights.
Yeah.
But you'll be in a fight with like this giant monster, right? And
Yeah.
it's like this epic 2D battle. You're parrying their attacks, you're dodging out the way. There's this giant beast, you're fighting them over a lava pit, and then you go into a damage phase, and you're like, oh, the wall's ripped open. You're riding on the side of this monster. It goes into 3D, and you're just pounding the shoot button, and you're just shooting the fuck out of this monster riding over a lava pit in 3D, and it's the coolest shit ever. I can't
Okay.
overstate how fucking awesome this game is. I
It
adore
sounds
this
pretty
game.
epic.
It is, and
Can I
it's
just say
like
a quality of life thing I just saw there? You just hopped up a little thing automatically, right? You didn't have to do a
yeah,
stupid half jump. It's just like, well, no one wants to do the little half jump. Let's just do it for them.
um, yeah. So the story of I should just go into the basic story of Metroid because I started
Yeah,
Metroid
okay.
Dread,
That's
which
the premise.
from a story point is like not the most best place to start from a story point because it kind of goes into like deep Samus lore. And I'm just
Oh,
like,
does it? Oh, okay.
so Samus is a bounty hunter
Yes.
that is essentially the way Dread starts. You've tracked down Okay, so there's a virus called the X virus that makes these. I love foreshadowing. This is such great. You see this guy, and I'm like, oh, that's a guy I'm gonna. You go through this section of the game several times, right? And you're like, he's always there being zapped by these machines, right? And then suddenly you go through that section and he's missing. And oh my god, that is like one of the most epic moments of video games. You're just like, oh shit. Where like it's literally called Metroid Dread, but I felt dread playing this several times. Metroid Dread is like half Metroid, half a horror game. There's entire sections where there's these like, oh, I'm getting so off track because I'm getting so excited about this game. I love Metroid Dread. So I'll go back to the story. You're a bounty hunter. You've chased down someone with the X strain variant. They're a really dangerous alien. You're going there to fight this bounty. But then Metroids are a type of aliens that infect other aliens.
Yeah.
I think it's called like the Metroid virus. This is from what I understand the story from someone who's only played Metroid Dread.
I don't think you're wrong.
There's these things called Chozo, which is the race of aliens that Samus is, who for some reason look human, but are also bird creatures. But Samus is the only one that's not a bird creature.
Makes sense.
I can't really go full into why without explaining like the spoilers for this game. So I'll just try and keep it brief. But yeah, there's some really cool stuff in this game. By the way, this is the first game where Samus actually speaks for like a second.
Wait, is that the only line?
I think she screams in this game, and it's like, and it's totally justified from like a story perspective. But this is why I was talking about these like horror sections.
You're running away.
There's certain points of this game where there's these robots, right? And you cannot kill them. They are too powerful for you, and if they find you, they will one-shot you. So it then turns into this like slow-paced stealth thing / oh shit, I have to run through the game. And as you progress through the game, you get different powers for your suit, right? So I have a cloaking technology here, and basically, if I stand still, he'll go past me. But the entire time you're cloaked, it's slowly draining your energy bar. So I'm clinging on. I'm like, please don't see me. Please don't see me. Please don't see. Please keep going. Please keep going. I'm running out of energy bar. And the energy bar, when it gets past the yellow part, it starts draining your health. And also, when you move, it drains more of the energy of the stealth suit. So you're constantly trying to slowly move through this area. And every time even going through these areas after beating them, I was terrified. Like the music, the atmosphere, everything is just fucking... I think they're like blind apart from their scanner. But if they hear a noise, they'll just start running. Like fucking, like imagine like a robotic like xenomorph just like running across the fucking map. And then as soon as I got out of this area, I was like, phew, finally I'm out of that area. But in order to progress through the game and get different powers, you essentially have to fight the CPU core in that area, and then fighting the CPU core will then let you unlock a massive devastating beam, which lets you finally kill those creatures and unlock a new suit power. But you have to.
That's the progression.
Yeah. Oh, there's suit upgrades you get just from exploring, and then there's specific suit powers you get from defeating the Guardian guys. I can't remember what they're called. The map is fucking huge in this game. There's multiple like teleports and rails between the different areas.
Okay.
That you unlock throughout progressing the game. It's like you get to a new area and it's like, oh, there's something I can't interact with that. And then you get that one upgrade and you're like, oh, suddenly, bam, 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 I can go to this area, I can do this, I can do this. And it's like, oh, and now I can't do this. And there's... Yeah, if you've played a Metroidvania game, you'll be very familiar with the mechanics of a Metroid game. Yeah, it's so well designed. This game is and it looks phenomenal as well. Considering this game is like made for the Switch, holy shit, is it? It looks so good.
Yeah. I guess there's no
Um,
like massive vistas defenders. Maybe that they're cheated with like the 2.5D stuff. But yeah, they're doing a fantastic job like
well, you can
using
look
what
at the
they've got to
Metroid
do.
Prime remaster I'm going to be talking about for this, and you'll be like, oh, this looks fucking amazing as well, and this is in full 3D.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say this is better than that, but yeah.
I think this game's like absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, everything is cool. Like the combat, the atmosphere, the monsters, the bosses are fucking sick. I'd highly recommend just going into every boss fight blind and just fucking fighting them. They are like small scale cinematic experiences. The bosses, absolutely awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions you have
It's
about Metroid or specifically
um.
Metroid Dread?
I don't think so. I can't remember. There's like one criticism I heard about this game. I can't remember what it was now,
Oh,
but I
what's that?
remember like I can't remember. It was very specific, and I think it's something you have to like play to like remember it.
One of my
I can't remember
criticisms
what it was.
was some of the collectibles are really dumb to get.
Right.
Like you were required to do. I'm not a big fan of the sprinting. There's a basically when you get a certain way through the game, you get this sprinting power up. But if you move in a certain way, you can keep your sprinting power if you hit a button at the right time. And it's kind of the movement in this game. I would say is really good, but some of the movement stuff I'm like doesn't click that well with me.
Right.
Um,
Was it just was there something else you didn't like as well? Was it just the sprinting?
I think there was some stuff where I was like, I didn't like it first, but once you get used to it, it's like, oh, this is
Okay.
sick. Like, for
Right.
example, you basically, when you're in ball form, you can do like unlimited double jumps pretty much. So you can go
Yeah.
jump, 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 but you have to jump at the right time. So there's a timing window to it. So it's not like in a normal platformer, it's like, oh, you can double jump at any time. So I'll jump really far, and then at the last second, I'll get that extra jump in for more height or, to help me on the platform. It's like, no,
Right.
it's more like a samba beat or Joe's like, duh, duh, duh,
Yeah.
duh, duh, jump, jump. So it's like, the movement is like purposefully restrictive in a
Okay.
way that once you like learn it is really rewarding,
Yeah.
which
You
is
have to get
again,
used to it.
yeah.
Okay.
Once you get it, it's fucking good. It's so fucking good. But yeah, you come to this abandoned like planet.
It's like
I don't
a
know.
research facility. Like
Some shit's going down here. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, shit's going down. There's a fucking bird guy here. You're gonna go and hunt him. Shit starts going wild later in the game, and it gets crazy. And essentially, like you'll start off like just, oh, I need to redirect the lava flow, in order to, unlock this new area. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to plant this bomb here in order to blow up this part of the map so I can access
Oh.
this area and stuff like that.
I had a question actually. I think you brought this up I think you told me that when you first played this. Is it one of the things where it's like is it has the same problem as like other Metroidvania where it's like you need to kind of play it all in one go, otherwise your mental map of the game disappears. You leave and come back.
So I played
month
this. It would be hard for me. I would definitely not recommend playing it in very long bursts, but I also knew it was a Metroid game, so I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and play it all in like a very quick succession.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I can't say personally, but I would assume, like I would just
I mean,
completely
judging from
forget
size of
half
the
the
map,
stuff.
I would assume it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of thing that you want to try and play like, oh, I'll play a little bit today, and then I'll play the next day, and then after a couple of days, I'll play a
Don't
little bit
then
more.
Put it down and play Diablo.
'Cause
and go back to it.
Because I was testing out the game when I installed it on Yuzu, because I was like, oh, basically, I got a bunch of games running on the emulator, and I was like, oh, I'll just test them, right?
Yeah.
And
to make sure it's working.
out of the games I tested, of just like, I'll play it for play it for a couple of minutes to make sure it's working. The games that I tested, and I just kept on playing for hours, were Super Mario Odyssey, Metroid
Yeah.
Dread, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Those were the
Okay.
games where I went, these games are so hard to put down because they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, how long before, like, I thought it was ages, like, between like this Metroid game and the previous one. Like, how long was, like, people were waiting for ages for this game, right?
Yeah, so I think the last
Especially they didn't
Metroid
like
game,
the 3D stuff.
the last 2D Metroid game, I believe, came out on a 3DS, I think.
Yeah, I think that's correct. It's been a fair few years.
Because there was Metroid Samus Returns in 2017, but Metroid Samus Returns is a remaster of the 1991 Game Boy game Metroid 2.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. I think Metroid M was that a no? Metroid M was a third-person one, right?
I think I want to say so.
That was
Yeah,
for the Wii.
I'm not entirely sure. I don't follow. Like, again, like, don't own like Nintendo hardware anymore, so I don't really follow their releases. But I believe
think
that's correct.
Metroid Zero Mission from 2004, maybe the last 2D game before Metroid Dread.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So it was almost like 10 years between them.
That's crazy. Okay.
I think. I'm not 100% sure. Because
I remember there being
played all the Metroid
talk of
games.
it. It
But
was
this is
like
just
when it
looking
was
at
first
Google.
announced, people when it was first announced, people were excited for it. So I was kind of assuming that they waited a while.
Yeah. But like they announced Metroid 4 a long time ago. And
Oh
they
yeah. They
they
said
still-
that they
released
restarted
Metroid
them,
Dread before Metroid 4. So,
Yeah, it was meant to come out the other way around. It's crazy.
uh,
I kind of respect like not wanting to release something until it's good though. I kind of respect that.
yeah, I think that is Nintendo.
Yeah.
They were pretty much like, we're not going to release something until it's finished. I think it's easy to say Nintendo, but there's a lot of like really good small developers inside Nintendo that actually do their own like separate work. Like you have like Game Freak for Pokemon, HAL is for Kirby. Trying to look up who does Retro Studios for Metroid. And I think Nintendo does Mario. I think that's pretty much
the main
very much the core team.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think is there another team behind, or like maybe like offshoot teams maybe from the main team that do like the spin-off Mario's, I believe.
Yeah,
That's like palette cleansing sort of projects. I think is how that goes.
Yeah, I really hate Nintendo's policies on platform exclusives, like only releasing on Switch. I hate
modding.
I hate their
regulation.
like they refuse to do online stuff a lot of the time. They don't. They have like heavy DMCA stuff. They are very anti-emulation. But there is so many talented developers that work for Nintendo that it's just like such a shame that they, you know. I really want to support their work because
they got a bad legal team, but they got great game devs. Yeah,
their games are always great.
Yeah.
But it's just some of the internal stuff is just like not great.
Is it the Nintendo boss that like cut his pay when like the company wasn't doing so well? Or is that a different?
That's a very Japanese thing to do. I don't know if it's specifically Nintendo, but it wouldn't surprise me.
But I think that's just like something like I feel like that's. I mean, I guess if every Japanese boss did that, I mean, at least Nintendo's one of them, I suppose. But no, yeah, the game's good. Wait, is this where you die? Oh no.
Yeah, you lose your suit.
No.
And you have
zero suit.
Oh, it's another thing that gives you dread. You can only save at save game points.
Yeah.
So when you're in like one of those rooms, and you're like, oh, I haven't got to a save game point yet. You're like, oh shit, I could die and have to start from my last save. I'm like, holy, it's like again, Japanese horror game, Resident Evil. It's like I can only save at typewriters. I have to get to this point, and it actually instills fear in you.
Yeah, yeah. I also feel like as well, like the way they do it, cause I think some people might look at it and go, "Oh," because I think a lot of Western games who do that make them kind of annoying with the save points are. I feel like, at least for the Resident Evil and Nintendo stuff, or at least for the Dread stuff, I suppose, it looks to me like it's interesting to replay it.
And as I have learned from playing 2 Metroid games now, there's an escape sequence in Metroid Dread and Metroid Prime. I don't know, because from not playing the other games, it's a bit of a tradition. Metroid Prime starts with an escape sequence.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the end of Metroid Dread, or like usually at the end of Metroid, like on Metroid 1, like if you've seen GDQ where you have save the animals or kill the animals, you essentially are usually blowing up the place that you have gone to because you're trying to stop the spread of the Metroid virus. Yeah. And you'll have like an escape sequence who's like, you have 2 minutes to get to your ship or you'll die, pretty much.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's in every single Metroid game and it's always sick. So yeah. But speaking of Metroid Prime, let's talk about Metroid Prime Remastered. Tony, what if you were to... So, this is the second Metroid game I've ever played. So I've played 2 now. So this is the second one. I was like...
You played this after Dread?
Yeah. I played this after Dread. I was like, I'll play a 2D one to see what 2D Metroid games are like, and I will play a 3D game. I know the Prime series is very popular. And my first initial thoughts after playing Metroid Prime Remastered, which is a decent game from that has been remastered in a very faithful but very beautiful looking way. Yeah. My initial thoughts are I much prefer Metroid Dread, and I much prefer 2D Metroid to 3D Metroid, in my personal opinion.
That from the I played. I'm not. I don't know. I think because obviously I was saying the Mario Tangerine, like I played. What's it called?
Mario.
Metroid
you played
Prime
Metroid Pinball. You played, yeah.
That's what in this Tangerine. No, okay. It was Metroid Prime 3 Corruption on the Wii, and oh boy, does it not work with.
Okay, Tony, I got to point this out. This is such a small detail, like you would not think they'd put into a Switch. When you shoot like a high-powered blast at a door, the brief flash of light puts a reflection of Samus's eyes onto the visor.
Oh, okay, that's
it's cool. Like this. The fact they have this game running at 60 FPS on a fucking Switch is insane. It is so like technically and advanced and beautiful as well at the same time. It is fucking awesome.
It's a Dread was 60 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, both 60.
That's insane. I think the 3D one is probably maybe more impressive, but I think it looks.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe not technically worse, but like I think aesthetically, I think it's worse.
Right.
Or maybe Dread is better looking, I should say. And I think that's cool. That like the big old.
So I was emulating this on Yuzu, and initially I just loaded up and played it with a controller, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure about this, controller aiming."
No.
I then found out that people had taken Yuzu and been like, "Oh, we've got it set up so your mouse and keyboard can emulate like a controller." So I played the entire game with a mouse and keyboard, and I was like, "Oh, it's actually pretty sick with a mouse and keyboard." I would love to see a Metroid Prime trilogy remaster on PC. Speaking of Prime Hack, which is a way to emulate it.
That'd be great, yeah.
I don't know if this Nintendo company was to ever be like, well, we should take our games and release them on other platforms, which I don't think would ever happen. I didn't think I never thought PlayStation would release their exclusives to PC. I thought there was no world which they would do that, and I was wrong about that. But I think Nintendo is like a different level of stubbornness.
I feel like Sony isn't maybe not stubborn. They just have
because Sony's like,
and then they saw money and went, no, we can make more money. Because
when you think of Sony and Nintendo, they're Japanese companies, right? Yeah. And the famous thing about Japanese companies is they have their very much designated way to design games and to play games, and they're very much just like you either love
They
it
don't
or hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, which is why I was so surprised Sony was willing to, actually put their stuff onto PC as well.
Well, I feel like Nintendo's less like I feel like Sony will follow money more than Nintendo does. I'm not saying like Nintendo doesn't make money or anything, but like I feel like they're set in their own ways. They make enough money. They don't want to like they don't optimize it in the same way Sony does. So I feel like if Sony didn't see like huge pools of money from like some like I see there's like internal pressure as well. Like, people asking like, can we release this on PC? I assume was what happened. What was the first Sony game that was released actually? Was it Insomniac?
Horizon Dawn.
Oh, it's
Horizon Zero
was, like,
Dawn.
the first one. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, interesting.
Which was the one
So
that
I
had
guess they
some of the most
directed-
issues on launch,
Yes.
but then eventually got fixed up.
Yeah.
Oh, you idiot, Joe! You can pull collectibles into you by holding down the charge button. You don't know that.
Yeah,
yet.
well, you have to go back in time and tell yourself.
Every time I watch footage of me, so this is me launching the game for the first time, and every time I'm
Yeah.
like, this guy's so fucking bad. It's always easier to see things you missed when you're watching them, though.
Yeah. I think it's one of the reasons why, like, if you're a developer, it's hard to know like what people will miss because you're so you know what it is.
I have later footage of me later on in the game as well, but I just had this controller first initial impressions footage as well.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel. Like the more I think about Metroid Dread, the more I'm like, I love this game. The more I think about Metroid Prime, I'm like, I'm not sure I like this game. There's definitely a lot of stuff I love about Metroid Prime. I love how it looks in the remaster. I like the shooting
the realization
generally.
of the world is impressive.
But it's like, I don't know, even some of the the movement stuff where it's like you need to turn into a ball and then it's like it turns into Tony Hawk and you have to like grind rail up and down these slides, and even doing it with a switching. I was like switching to a controller, and even then it was like, oh, this is really fucking hard to do.
Oh yeah, because you're like keyboarding those.
I switched to a controller and tried them as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And even then I was like, oh, I don't, these are really hard to perform, but. And it's
been really hard on the Wii, so yeah.
And like
I can see that
going from Metroid Prime's boss design, where I'm like, these are some of the best designed bosses I've seen in a video game, where it's like fair, but tough, to Metroid Prime bosses, which is what I would describe as boring bullet sponges, where they just have unnecessary health pools. It's just like, I have to keep shooting. Yeah, I have to just keep using rockets. I gotta get this guy's health down. Yeah, it's not particularly challenging. It's just sort of like taking a lot of my time up. I don't know. There's a lot to like about Metroid Prime, but it's
not as good.
It's just there's. Then I see people reviewing this game and they're like, "This is a masterpiece."
Really? Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
And I see them talking about like the Metroid Prime remaster, and they're like, they took one of the best games of all time, they updated it, and it's now, it's now even better. It's now just like the greatest game of all time. And I'm like,
interesting.
It's one of those times where a lot of people have a very similar opinion, and then you have a very different opinion, and you start to question whether you like, you're in the wrong. Yeah, it's like, maybe there's just something I'm not getting about Metroid Prime.
Absolutely, but that's also that's a valid opinion as well, right? So.
Like, there's a lot I genuinely love about the game.
I'd be curious to know, like, I'd be curious to know, like, someone who really likes this, and like, I'd be curious to know what they would say to like your response or your review of this. I'd be very curious to know like what they think you're missing, or what they're getting out of it that you're not. I think it'd be very interesting to compare and contrast.
Yeah, I would just like I say. If I just like quickly over my head what my biggest gripes are, especially late game boss design sucks. It's just like the giant pterodactyl thing you fight, and then also the final boss is basically just like a bunch of energy, right? It's just not good. I just don't like it at all. Level designs are very confusing in this game. I found myself way more confused than Dread. Where in Dread, there was like times I was like, I'm not sure where to go, but it was always like I could backtrack and figure stuff out, and it was like I didn't mind as much because it was fun to move. In
Do you have the
Metroid
3D
Dread,
map in this as well?
yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
I always
it's
found that
not.
confusing.
The 3D map is really confusing to me, at least.
Yeah, I always find it confusing as well. But I'm not used to. I always put it down to I wasn't used to Metroid games, so I didn't know if that was a me problem.
No, the map in Dread is really good.
Yeah, I was saying people really like the map in Dread, and actually like Metroid enjoyers were pointing out how good the map was in that, so I feel like it wasn't just a me problem. I mean, I will say that I love. Okay, maybe like I feel like this looks great. Like I think the 3D environment and the aesthetic is like on point. I think if that's what if that's what you really like about this game, I think this is great. But I guess you're saying gameplay is more boring in places than.
I got all to go. Oh, Tony, everything's blowing up. You have to get off the ship before it explodes.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, you got.
It has this music playing.
Why? You know. Yeah, I feel like in the third one on the Wii, I had a similar thing. You know what I find terrifying about this?
What?
It's a very long timer. It's like, oh, you have to go through the whole level.
Yep.
And it's like, okay.
The space pirates start getting infected and coming back, and it's like, oh shit, what's going on?
Blow it up.
So I would say I have a pretty okay understanding of Metroid lore from playing 2 Metroid games now.
Yeah, I think.
I feel like Metroid is sort of like.
You played them as well, so you definitely have more than me.
I feel like I almost got to a point with Metroid Prime where I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to beat this game.
Oh really? Is
yeah.
that because of the bosses?
They were just. It just felt like a waste of time. In like the late bosses, especially, are just they're giant bullet sponges.
I actually don't know this, but I'm wondering, are they the same as they were from the non-remaster?
Yeah, I looked them up. They're the same.
So is that maybe the problem? So they didn't go back and try and change it. Is that the pterodactyl thing?
Yeah. I think is his name Ridley?
Ridley Scott? No,
just Ridley.
Can I just say, okay, I really like Samus's suit and her ship. Like, I think they look fantastic. I really want a model of both of those, I guess. I just love the ship.
Yeah. I'll skip to some later gameplay. I think getting later in the game and just exploring all the different areas and stuff, still insanely fun to just go around and get new power-ups and just be in the Metroid world. Especially when it looks this fucking awesome as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a well-realized 3D.
I'm really curious if they do Metroid, if they're going to like remaster the whole Metroid Prime trilogy, like do Metroid 2, Prime 2.
I would assume.
I will definitely try out Metroid Prime 2 because I completed this game and there was a lot of stuff I genuinely did enjoy in the game. Like I feel like Metroid Dread is like an almost perfect game. That's probably like a 4.5 to a 5-star, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Metroid Prime for me is probably more like a 3.5, 4-star. The game's not bad.
That's fair. Yeah, but there's like lots.
The game actually has a lot of good stuff in it, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's still very flawed in my opinion.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth try. This is a game that's definitely worth trying, I think.
Yep.
You may love this game, you may not click with this game, and that's completely fine. But at the end of the day, I'm just Joe, this is just Tony, and this is just a Tangerine.
Tangerine!
Oh, listen to this banging music.
Tangerine. Yeah. Oh, this looks. Can I just say this looks really awkward? Was this as awkward as it looks to move?
That's okay.
Okay.
It's definitely a lot more awkward than the 2D Metroid games.
Yeah, I've.
There's one thing you know about me, Tony. I love that you can just scan everything in the entire game.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think. Oh, so the 100. I did not 100% this game. To 100% it, you have to scan everything, and there's missable scans. Like you can't go back and scan them again. I was like, fuck that shit.
Yeah, you don't want to be Pokédex 9000.
Yeah. What was I saying? I can't remember now. Oh, there's an ice. Oh, there's a spooky area. It's nice and dark. I got the ice door.
I think it's about movement.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, that's what I'm saying. You know me, Tony. You know I love games with really good movement.
Yeah.
And Metroid Dread has phenomenal movement.
Yeah.
And Metroid Prime has clunky movement. So
Yeah.
for me personally, oh, so you need to put yourself in thermal mode for some of these points to see some enemies. It's the only way to see them. Putting yourself into thermal mode, I feel like I'm getting epilepsy from being in this mode. They definitely could have updated that, maybe. It was very annoying to use.
Well, what's the actual problem with it? Like, well, it's like it was like pulsating.
It was like, it felt like I was getting a headache from using it. It was like very visually distracting and noisy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Building lighting effects are fantastic.
Tony, I'm a Metroid enjoyer.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for the next Metroid 2D game. Maybe I'll go back and play some of the other ones, and I'm cautiously optimistic for Metroid Prime 2 remaster if they decide to remaster that.
Hopefully they improved it.
Yeah. What are you going to say? Anything you want to say?
I was going to say, like, I have a funny thing. Like, I feel like Dread was way more successful than the people were expecting. Or at least I think it was always going to be successful, right? But I feel like it was way more talked about than I think people thought. So I'm hoping that means that we get a 2D one quicker.
Metroid Prime 4. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I'm now a fan, guys. I know your pain. Oh, the grappling hook in this game. Another movement mechanic that sucks. How do you fuck up a grappling hook? Grappling hooks are always cool.
Yeah. When you're in first person, though, is that the problem?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. This is going to be a hard thing. People are going to disagree with me, but I honestly think I would enjoy 3D Metroid far more if it's over the shoulder third person, kind of like a Ratchet and Clank, but maybe a little bit closer in, like the claustrophobic feel.
Yeah. All right.
But I know people like the first person stuff, which is fair enough. I just feel like for 3D, I'm not sure.
All right. Bye.
Bye.